The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Oh, thanks very much for joining. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes just for a few more people to jump in, and then we'll proceed with the presentation. Right, brilliant. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. My name's Joe Flatley. Today I'm going to be taking you through our discussion around Barracuda Total Email Protection and how to secure email beyond the gateway. The deck's designed to give you a high-level overview of the current state of email-borne risks and our defenses against them. And I'll be walking you through a summary of the threat landscape, taking a look at how our defenses have evolved over time, and then we'll be examining some of today's most pressing email threats and why traditional gateway defenses weren't built to stop them. So first of all, starting on cloud migration, this is still very much on the increase, with an estimated 10 million mailboxes due to be migrated over to 365 by 2021. So many customers move into 365 and don't understand that although Microsoft provides you with the infrastructure and technology, the customer is actually responsible themselves for securing their own data within the platform. So Barracuda are a Microsoft certified security partner, and they collaborate with Microsoft to offer services such as backup and email security within Office 365 to allow customers to protect their data within the platform and meet their compliance requirements. So we spoke about shared responsibility a little bit there within Office 365 and customers needing to secure data within the platform. Unfortunately, the primary method of attacks against businesses and their data are still conducted over email. As you can see from this 2018 Verizon breach investigation report, 96% of businesses who experienced a data breach were hit over email. So this is still very much a big risk for organizations, which makes sense because we all use email all day, every day. And in fact, things only seem to be getting more complicated and risky over time. But as our defenses get better, attackers start to utilize more sophisticated attacks and ways to become more successful. So in the very early days, it was very much a spray and pray approach. Cast serve, widen it out, and prey on a large volume of unsophisticated targets. Then the attackers realized that antivirus was doing an okay job at stopping the run-of-the-mill spam and malware. So they started writing custom zero-day attacks that could evade the traditional emails gateways. And they also realized that humans are the weakest link in the security defense chain, and we saw the start of phishing attacks be launched. Now, as phishing attacks use corporate brands, companies noticed that they were losing customer trust and had more trouble engaging with their customers via email. And then we saw the introduction of ransomware. This actually enabled attackers to more easily monetize their malicious activity. And then with social engineering attacks, we saw these start to be used in order to convince executives to be wiring funds or to be disclosing sensitive information. And as corporate defenses got better, the attackers started to phish these executives through unsecured personal mailboxes. And with the rise of unified inboxes, it's not always clear whether emails are actually coming from a personal or corporate account, which can actually help attackers in being successful. Ultimately, looking at these threats, the evolution of these attacks has left the traditional email gateway protecting against the less complex side of things, whilst often the ones on the right, the more complex risks, are actually successful at either accessing data or manipulating for a financial gain. So here's an example of a conventional email security gateway. This sits at the perimeter before emails reach Office 365, provides email filtering of spam, viruses, phishing URLs to a degree, and then it passes all that legitimate mail through to the corporate inbox. We use Barracuda as an example here, but this can be any solution such as Microsoft ATP, Barracuda, Mimecast, any standard traditional gateway defense solution. Social engineering attacks manipulate their way around the gateway solution by leveraging personal mailboxes, employee impersonation, business email compromise, and get delivered directly to user inboxes or have direct access to the user inbox. So here we highlight how a gateway solution can be bypassed and some of the attacks which we do see successfully getting through to the user inboxes. And unfortunately, these advanced personalized attacks can be very successful. So account takeovers or direct access to a user inbox, these are often associated with lateral phishing attacks, in which an attacker will attempt to get access to other individuals' data and accounts within the business to initiate further attacks down the line. We've also seen an increase in conversation hijacking attacks, 400% over the last year on these. And ultimately, these leverage accessing user accounts and intercepting business transactions for, again, data or financial gain. As well as this, we see purchase credentials being used. This can be where a large data breach may have happened and customers' information has been exposed, such as usernames and passwords. And unfortunately, not everyone has a different password for each account that they own. Therefore, attackers can be potentially gain access by looking up the corporate mailbox of an individual and trying those same credentials against their work account. Just to give you a kind of recent example of this, EasyJet had a break-in last month in which 9 million customers' data was exposed and over 2,000 customers' credit or debit card information was accessed. So the attackers could actually use this information to target those individuals whose details were accessed with further phishing attacks, and they do so by impersonating the EasyJet brand, sending emails such as asking credentials to log in, authenticate, and update the credentials on their account. Ultimately, though, these attacks are able to navigate past those traditional gateway defenses, and a modern email security solution needs to look beyond that in order to protect against these advanced threats. So here we see a list of the 13 most common attacks over email, with the least complex at the top and the more complex at the bottom. We also see what was shown a little bit earlier, that the gateway defenses can only truly protect against those kind of basic level ones we see at the top. If you look at the column on the right-hand side, this is Barracuda's Sentinel solution, which is a completely unique offering and delivers beyond the gateway inbox defense by integrating directly into the API layer in 365. And can not only detect and stop these attacks before they are presented to end users, but can also automate and reduce the time it takes to remediate those attacks. So in the event one of these attacks were to be picked up by an IT department, they would ultimately have to escalate this to a priority 1 incident, reallocate resources on their side to investigate, and ultimately attempt to try and find out who has been affected by these attacks and what additional measures need to be taken in order to get back to a secure state. Sentinel utilizes AI and machine learning to understand the characteristics of each mailbox within the business, and it can make informed decisions as to when these attacks may be taking place. It can scan the 365 tenant to see if any other employees receive these email attacks, and then it can remediate these attacks by removing these threats directly from the inbox and also blocking any further attacks reaching the inboxes. As the solution's integrated directly into the 365 tenant as well, it also has the ability to detect if account takeover or business email compromise is taking place. And it does this by analyzing the communication patterns, the account login behavior of individuals, and it can also check if mail forwarding rules have been created on mailboxes. So we talked a little bit there about beyond the gateway protection and kind of how Sentinel sits there, but where does that sit looking at an email security stack? So it all starts at the mailbox, whether you're using a cloud service like Office 365 or G Suite, whether it be on-prem or in hybrid config, the defenses that are deployed are all going to be the same. So the gateway is as important as ever to make sure you have an inbound and outbound security deployment. This includes traditional signature defenses and advanced techniques such as sandboxing, as well as protecting against accidental or malicious data loss via encryption and DLP. At the gateway level, we also do archiving and compliance, litigation, hold, and e-discovery. So on top of that, we ensure resiliency within this platform to recover from accidental or malicious deletion of data and offer continuity services to ensure that critical emails can get sent during outages. Phishing attacks and ransomware in particular tend to leverage some of those 365 products, such as OneDrive and SharePoint, to affect files and affect users. And Microsoft don't back this data up within 365. And there is a misconception that they do. Ultimately, when you move to the cloud, this data needs to be treated as if you were still on premise. And if you had an on-premise Exchange server, you would be backing it up. So at this layer, Barracuda offers the capabilities to do this in the cloud. Moving up to the inbox defense layer, which is the Barracuda Sentinel product we spoke about. This layer stops against attacks that bypass the gateway, uses that artificial intelligence layer to help predict how likely an email is to be from an individual. It might be suggesting to be from someone else, as well as recognizing wording and characteristics associated with those phishing attacks. The DMARC standard is useful to make sure that bad actors aren't sending spam and phishing attacks using your domain and impersonating your brand, as well as providing reporting on DMARC. And protecting against account takeover attempts by alerting in real time to the admins and allowing them to lock down, secure those accounts before any other malicious activities can take place on them. So I mentioned earlier again that the attackers identified the human element presents a security risk over email. The very last line of defense with any organization is the end users. So we offer a phishing and simulation and training platform to ensure that people know what these attacks look like, and also helps the IT department to monitor and understand how the business act with these emails when they're delivered, as well as providing a platform to train individuals with cybersecurity awareness training. And then finally, Barracuda Forensics and Incident Response automates the incident response process and provides remediation options to address issues faster and more effectively. Admins can send alerts, quarantine malicious emails, and use threat insights for proactive threat detection. On all the demos I've done, this is probably the tool that raises the most eyebrows for customers, as this is a very time-intensive and time-critical process. Some of these attacks can take anything from days, weeks, or months to actually clean up from an IT point of view. So this solution allows customers to act immediately and ensure that they get back to a secure state on their environment as soon as possible. So all of these products are available modularly, or they can be bundled together depending on the end user requirements. Just to give you a quick example, we have quite a few customers who keep their existing security gateway solution in place, but they actually layer their defenses by introducing the backup and the Sentinel products into their stacks. All of the solutions you see here as well are licensed on a per basis user. There are no hidden fees such as ingestion or extraction of data associated with them, and no modular features. All of the features are enabled out of the box against that per user license under the total email protection license. So we spoke a little bit today about how Sentinel can offer that additional layer of protection beyond the gateway, but how do you show that to your customers? And how do you show them that unfortunately gateways aren't sufficient at protecting against all of those advanced threats? So Barracuda Sentinel has a free tool which you can use. Ultimately, you use it as a health check on your customers to check on their email security environment within Office 365. This runs a scan of the 365 tenant, and once it's completed, it generates a threat report which shows any potential attacks that might be sitting in the user inboxes, as well as who the most targeted employees are in the business, and if any of your domains aren't currently protected against spoofing attacks. The threat scan report can highlight the kinds of attacks that are getting past traditional gateway defenses, and ultimately stresses the importance of having a layered approach to email security. In particular, implement a solution that can help deal with some of these advanced threats, such as Barracuda Sentinel. I personally find this is a great tool to use. It can be easy to convert into a demo with the customers of the product, and quite often we see the customers purchase Sentinel on the back of those demos. If you'd like any information about how to get the email threat scanning running with any of your customers as well, feel free to reach out to my team. I'm happy to walk you through this process, and I'll provide our details at the end of the webinar for myself and my team. So just taking a quick look at some of the achievements of Barracuda. Here in May 2019, we see the Forrester Wave report that shows that Barracuda were listed as being one of the market leaders within this category. And ultimately, this comes down to that AI-based inbox protection solution that is Barracuda Sentinel. This unique offering allowed Barracuda to achieve becoming a market leader in the email security field. And then just to highlight some of the awards that Barracuda have recently received as well. They've been awarded Best Email Security Solution for the Total Email Protection offering. The judges were quoted saying that Barracuda is the only vendor in the market today that provides all 4 layers of email protection, which is securing at the gateway, inbox defense, security awareness training, and automating that incident response process. And then additionally, we also see that they won the award for best use of machine learning and AI, which once again was due to that Barracuda Sentinel product. So we have a dedicated team here at CMS for Barracuda, which consists of our product manager, which is Dan, product specialist, which is Slaman, and myself, Joe Flatley, from a pre-sales perspective. Our team can cover everything from enablement sessions, which consist of on-site or remote training for both sales team and technical resources, pre and post-sales support in product demonstrations, scoping calls, and our newly launched professional services offering as well. For professional services, we offer a remote installation for any of the Barracuda products. Instead of charging this in a daily contractor rate, we segment this out to blocks for installations. For example, the email security gateway installation would roughly take about 4 hours. So we charge that as one block instead of one day. I'm also flexible on working with end users on this. So that means that a whole block doesn't need to be done in one session. They can work around their own requirements, their own schedules to make sure we ultimately get the products up and running as quickly and effectively as possible for them. Moving on to the health check side of things, we actually use this as a means to evaluate implementations of the Barracuda products for our customers. We review the current health of the Barracuda products, and we offer suggestions and best practices to implement to help improve functionality as well. On the back of these health checks, we can also find future opportunities for potentially upselling Barracuda products. For example, if any Barracuda customer were using an SSL VPN appliance, they're actually due to go end of life soon. I generally suggest to them that they look for a Barracuda firewall, as this continues to provide that service they're looking for, as well as enabling some of those advanced security features that comes with having a firewall. Recently performed a backup installation for one of our customers, and the security discussions I had with the IT manager actually identified they'll be moving to 365 in the future. We've actually opened up the door speaking to that customer in regards to the Barracuda email security bundle and how we protect their migration to the cloud going forward. So that brings us to the end of today's session. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining. If you do have any questions around the Barracuda Total Email Protection or the Sentinel Inbox Defense products, please do not hesitate to reach out to the Barracuda team at CMS Distribution. You see our team address here in the bottom left-hand corner, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.